On the show this week, we have a bunch of showstoppers, starting off with the Hyundai Ioniq 5. Is it an ideal city EV? That's not all. We also have the new Xiaomi 13 Pro. Is it a camera? Is it a smartphone? We take you all the way to Leica headquarters to find out what's cooking in this particular device. And of course, we're also telling you a little bit more about what's happening in the social media world and where the creators need to be a lot more transparent and accountable. It's an action-packed episode. I'm your host, Aayush, Ailawadi, and this is Tech Today. On Tech Today, we like to bring you technology of today and, of course, technology of tomorrow. I have with me the brand new Hyundai Ioniq 5, a car which we've been ogling at for many months, especially on YouTube, but we have it here in the flesh, not in optimum conditions, but on Mumbai roads. What's it like on our special segment, the electric experience? All I can say is it's going to be an action-packed electric episode, but for now, welcome to the future. Doesn't it look like one of those E.T. movies or one of the cool Back to the Future or Arnold Schwarzenegger movies? This deserves to be either Star Trek, Star Wars or Terminator. And I'd say it's not the villain's car, this is the hero's car. And once you drive it, you'll realize that it's an absolute pleasure. But no spoilers there. The car has this brilliant design. Like I said, futuristic. Let's show you the back of the car as well. Even if you want a quick gesture control, the doors open quite neatly there. And there's gesture control here if you want to open the boot of the car. And yes, there is a boot. So much more happening on the inside. Have a look at it. There is one quick charger there, no spare wheel, a tire mobility kit and a puncture repair kit. Let's close this, but it's looking great on the outside. All I can tell you is, picture abhi baki hai. The real beauty is on the inside. Let's have a look. The minute you sit in the Ioniq 5, if you're a tech geek, be rest assured, this is a cabin made for us tech enthusiasts. I'm going to snap my seat belt on, switch on the car, and of course, it's got its memory seats, a nice little EV start-stop button right here. And the minute you turn it on, it's already got me in my favorite driving position. It's got an adjustable steering wheel. Let's talk about the steering wheel very quickly. Very sporty, has all the features you need on it. Ambient lighting used fairly well inside the cabin to really accentuate what this car is all about. It's the lighting on the outside that everyone's talking about. That signature LED sort of panel in the front, at the back, which makes this look like a car of the future. Now, when you're talking about LEDs on the outside, there are essentially LED DRL blocks which have been used for standard blinker turn signals. But this minute you turn on the turn signal, they switch from their white mode to a blinking amber. And I think that's a very, very minimalistic but smart tweak in terms of how they've used that LED. And honestly, this car comes alive like Batman the minute the sun sets and you turn on the LEDs, get it on the road. It looks like something from a sci-fi movie. Let's come to the panel and talk a little bit about it. And this is amazing because they've got this design with this divider dividing the two of these. Very, very slick with the use of white on these panels and bright enough, giving you the right amount of information even on the home page. Now, I think Hyundai wanted you to have a romantic evening but not enjoy it too much, and didn't want you popping out of the sunroof because they have what you call a vision roof, which the minute I flick this back opens up in record time. But this is not retractable. But essentially, you can enjoy a starry night right here in the Ioniq 5 and honestly keep your eyes on the road and maybe on this beautiful system when the car is parked. You click it, it's responsive. You want to maybe use the navigation system, zoom in, zoom out, split screen view works seamlessly. Click on the home icon. This is what the menu is all about. You swipe on the left, gets you back to this particular screen which tells you what range is there on the car. It's telling you how it would run with the AC on, how it would run with the AC off, what's the nearest charging station, and if we were to get there, what the EV charge transfer would be like. If you want to adjust the levels, then obviously the V2L will discharge down to the defined minimum charge level. In a nutshell, in simple terms, also charge another EV or an e-scooter or other large devices. That's how capable this battery is. When they're talking about technology of the future, I have to give it to them, because this can actually support 350 kilowatt charging. That means 0 to 100 in under 20 minutes. While this steering wheel looks very sporty and has all the right functions at the right places, visibility of this screen becomes a little difficult at this particular height. Now you'll ask me, where is the gear? The gear is not even here near the right indicator like the Mercedes. It's actually here at the bottom, and you have P, R, N and D. Very strange placement of this particular lever, but once you get used to it, I think this is something that other cars can adopt as well. So like most EVs, it comes with several drive modes. A nice little Porsche-like button right here. Click it once and we're in normal, as you can see. Click it again, we're in sport mode. The range has gone down, the color scheme has changed. Go in eco and it's this nice little white bit. If you keep the drive mode button pressed, apparently it goes into snow mode. Now the million-dollar question, or in their case, the 45 lakh rupee question is, what is the range like? Is there range anxiety with the Ioniq 5, especially when you're driving it in city conditions here in Mumbai? Look, they claim an ARAI range of what, 631 kilometers. In our review of this car over the past few days, and we've not just been ripping it in sport mode, we've tried eco, sport, normal, everything but snow mode. I think realistically you'll get anywhere between maybe 390 to 450, let's say an average of 400 kilometers on a single charge. First impressions of the Ioniq 5, it is a smooth criminal. Like every other EV, yes, it's silent, but it is incredibly smooth and planted on the roads. Look, they call it an SUV, and honestly, it might look like it has the dimensions of a hatchback. That's not entirely true. It's 4.6 meters long. That makes it proper SUV territory. Now, I have good news and bad news about the Ioniq 5. The good news is that it is assembled in India, so you'd expect it to be a bit cheaper. But the bad news is that it's nearly 45 lakhs. So under 50 lakhs for this particular, I would say, luxury EV, which honestly is competing with the likes of a Tesla or a Lucid, or even what Mercedes and Audi have to offer, and you're getting it on this vehicle compared to the EV6, which is maybe 20 lakhs more expensive. I think this is a much better bang for your buck. But even then, with the range that it offers, over 600 kilometers is what they say. I'd say 400 to 450 kilometers is what you get on the car. This particular vehicle is still expensive for most of us, so it can't be ubiquitous like maybe the Tata Nexon EV, but it is a luxury product. Quick pit stop for the final verdict on tech today. After driving this on Mumbai roads, this is an absolutely electric vehicle, pun intended. The experience has been truly enthralling. Great performance, fantastic tech on display. It's 45 lakh rupees. And even though that price might seem like an impediment, bookings are showing no signs of stopping. That's also because we have very few cars that really are in that sweet spot. I think if they could increase range on a car like this or reduce price, this would be the best EV in India, selling like hotcakes. For now, what I can say from a tech geek's perspective is this is perhaps one of the nicest and most tech-loaded electric vehicles we've had on Tech Today. And if this car comes with its next Ioniq 6 and maybe more cars from the Hyundai stable, which are giving competition now to the German manufacturers much before the Teslas and Lucids get to India, this space is going to be one you have to watch. And on that note, you should keep watching that space and Tech Tomorrow and in the electric experience on our website and our socials. And honestly, I am itching to see 0 to 100 in 7.6 seconds. So I'm going to put it in sport mode, seatbelt on, and off we go. Well, from the frigid conditions in Europe, nearly sub-zero temperatures, to the sweltering heat here in Mumbai, one thing remains the same. We have an EV with us. We saw a bunch of Tesla supercharging stations there, and we saw a bunch of Ioniq 5s as well. Very popular car all across that side of the world, and we anticipate it might just be a very popular car here in India as well. But no matter where you're driving an EV, one thing you need to do is charge it, whether you're shooting, whether you're going out for a movie or a road trip. Range anxiety needs to be addressed by the automakers and by us, the guys who own the car. Now, we've been testing the latest gadgets and EVs and telling you all about what's happening in the social media world. But something we want to really touch upon is the genesis of this show was to really break the clutter and to ensure that we make tech content credible again. In an age of YouTube and Instagram, there's so many creators out there putting out some lovely content, but the one thing we really lack here in India especially is transparency and accountability. Is it an editorial review? Is it a paid partnership? What do you, the consumer, think of it? Are you being misled? The government understands these things as well. So does the Advertising Standard Council of India. And they've issued a set of guidelines which should be adhered to when we are posting content on social media. But what does the creator community think? Also, let's try to understand and break down these guidelines for you on Tech Today. Here's a Tech Today special report.
In a bid to ensure consumer safety, the Government of India has now issued a set of guidelines for content creators and influencers on the internet. This, of course, is to protect the viewers and consumers from falling prey to any misleading ad and to make information extra clear between the content creator and the audience. This comes almost 2 years after the Advertising Standard Council of India released a set of guidelines. So what changes now? Well, now it only gets more detailed. He spoke to some creators to understand their thoughts about the guidelines and how it affects their process of content creation. Now, more than just using hashtags, the creators have to mention that their content is sponsored in the picture and the video itself than just in the caption.
But the fact that the new guideline has come out where you need to put it in the video for a certain amount of time where people can actually read does not make much of a difference, honestly, because you're anyways putting the label, paid partnership label, in your bio out there, plus you're putting an ad. So people already know that it is an advertisement and you're getting paid for it. And now on Instagram, it's become such a common thing that when you start talking, only your audience knows it's going to be an advertisement and not like a original organic video of yourself.
I think as influencers, there's one new influencer coming up every minute, I'd say actually. As an influencer, if you want to survive, consumers' trust is number one, and you can only get trust when you're transparent. So actually being transparent, doing all the disclosures properly will help you be a better creator, better influencer, and survive in the long run and differentiate yourself. So I feel it's very important, and especially because there's a lot of misinformation which is there, and being from the finance sector, it's even the gravity of the decisions that are being made are very heavy. So these guidelines are important so that people's interests are safeguarded.
With great power comes great responsibility. You have to make sure that the information that you convey to the viewer, to the buyer, to the genuine buyer, is accurate. So there are a lot of times when I talk about the property and I do the tour, there are certain times where I forget to describe the property or certain things about the property. I prefer to put all the details in the description, and in most of my videos I do mention that, all the details are in the description. So authenticity, integrity is what was mentioned out there. In fact, I just made a story about the same thing. Authenticity, transparency, integrity are the things that are very important when you are talking about real estate in my field. And I think ASCII also is aligned to the same thought pattern.
Have you seen a number of rise in any platform or any influencing trajectory, if we may call it that way, after the guidelines were introduced? And with this influencer summit today, what are we trying to achieve?
So I think in general there is obviously much more digital advertising happening, and the platforms are becoming more active and influencers are becoming more active, because we do feel that this is going to shape advertising in the future in a very, very big way. So more than I would say, has it gone up or down, because the guidelines are very recent. I think what we can say is that just at an anecdotal basis, we are seeing a lot more influencers who are compliant. We are seeing the hashtags being used. We are seeing the paid partnership tags being used. So I think that's a great step, and we are definitely seeing more platforms also bringing in disclosure labels, so that there is a native way to kind of disclose your material connection. So I think influencers are taking this whole thing, I feel, in a really good way, in a very positive way, and using disclosure, not with any kind of pressure, but I think as a voluntary choice that they are making, and I think that is really, really great news.
So be it the internet stars like Bhuvan Bam and Prajakta Kohli to OG influencers like Virat Kohli and Shah Rukh Khan, all of them now come under the purview of these guidelines. But what do you think about it? Do you get easily influenced through the internet, and would these guidelines help you differentiate better? Do let us know in the comments.
Well, it looks like we have some competition for the S23 Ultra and for the OnePlus devices in the Android world, the Xiaomi 13 Pro. But this is here in Mumbai. We've had this phone for a while now, and we thought, why just do a typical review? These sort of weather conditions maybe aren't ideal. We wanted it to be a little cooler, so we took it to frigid Europe. In fact, we took it to Wetzlar, Germany, where this phone is actually being co-engineered. The lens on this phone is being co-engineered with Leica and Xiaomi, and this is a partnership which we wanted to learn a lot more about, so we want to bring you that exclusively on Tech Today. And along with that, we also want to tell you that yes, the phone has Snapdragon 8 Gen 2, it has some brilliant battery life. There are a few quirks with the software. We wish it would have been a cleaner version of Android, but Xiaomi has a strong community which seem to like their interpretation of Android with their devices. But even then, we'll give you our first impressions of this device and what this camera is really capable of. Is it a gimmick or a game changer? This Leica-powered camera lens, I'm telling you, there's a lot to be spoken about this particular camera module and this partnership, all the way from Wetzlar, Germany, in slightly better weather. Welcome to Wetzlar. Yes, this is the holy grail for camera enthusiasts, given that this is Zeiss town and most importantly, Leica town. That's where we are, the Leica Museum, headquarters, and their facilities all over this town. And now it's become imperative because one, Leica has come up with a smartphone in Japan in partnership with Sharp, but that's not what we want to talk about. We want to talk about a phone they've actually co-engineered, when you're talking about the camera system, the Xiaomi 13 Pro. And look, there's branding on it saying co-engineered by Leica, and you've seen this with OnePlus and Hasselblad, Oppo and Hasselblad, Vivo and Zeiss, and you see a lot of these things, but how often are these gimmicks, and when does it actually happen that these turn out to be game changers? With the OnePlus Hasselblad partnership, the expectations were high, especially during the pandemic. And then when we saw the final output, it was absolutely disappointing. A little bit of inputs when it comes to color science, and yes, the OnePlus cameras aren't the best in the market out there. Here, they're actually saying, from a branding standpoint, that it's co-engineered, the Xiaomi 13 Pro, with Leica. What does that mean? Because I've been using this phone for a while now and taking photos all over Wetzlar town, and then, of course, from the Tech Today studio. And honestly, I don't think this is a gimmick. If this is the future of smartphone cameras, and they also have a concept phone which is really cool with an attachable lens, but that's a little too bulky. If that sort of massive tech is now coming into this camera module, it might just be a game changer. The Xiaomi 13 Pro comes with a Leica professional optical lens, a 1-inch ultra-large sensor. That means a lot more light comes in and hence gives you much better shots. We've also seen a giant aperture here at the Leica Museum. A lot of those learnings and inputs do find their way into these sort of partnerships. And of course it comes with a Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 But let me talk a little bit more about this camera. Looks really cool, looks different from the other phones, but this massive 1-inch sensor comes with a 50 megapixel wide-angle camera. This 1-inch sensor size is absolutely mind-blowing. Now, while it can obviously give you one-click AI cinema, ultra-night video, create Dolby Vision content up to 4K 60 FPS, 8K video recording, portrait night mode, it comes with Xiaomi Pro focus as well, but most importantly it comes with this Leica professional optical lens, a 1-inch ultra-large sensor, and the first time ever a 75mm floating telephoto lens, which is what I really think is coming from this partnership with Leica. When they're talking about being co-engineered, it's not just a filter, it's not just a lens. There is a marked improvement in this camera, and it produces images like I haven't seen on a smartphone before. We're going to test this extensively on Tech Today, but I just thought you might just go back to the studio and get all sorts of shots back in Mumbai and Delhi. Well, this, according to me, is the future of smartphone photography. Earlier, we were in Wetzlar at Leica HQ, and we had a very special guest, and we managed to catch him at the Mobile World Congress. Marius, nice to meet you.
Aayush, good to see you.
Good to have you on Tech Today. I'm glad that we are still in an environment like this where we can chat about your partnership whilst we walk with Xiaomi, right? Just straight up, fascinating device. I've taken photos on it, and I think camera enthusiasts will be pleased with the results. But the first question that everyone seems to have on their minds is a lot of smartphone companies have tied up with traditional camera companies. But we haven't seen much of a manifestation of that in the final output. Yeah. No real improvement, just some color science. Largely, they've been gimmicks. Now, I've seen that device for myself, but if you had to refute that point, why isn't the Leica-Xiaomi partnership a gimmick, and why is it actually a game changer?
So, thank you first of all. For us, it's super important that it's a comprehensive technology partnership. So, it's including the whole image pipeline from lens, sensor up to the final image processing. So that's why we didn't only concentrate on color science or only on image quality tuning, but we were really involved from the very beginning when we are developing the lens, when we are modify the sensor, when we are going into the image quality tuning process, and from A to Z we have been involved.
Right, and you've got to tell us a little bit more about how this partnership came about. I'm guessing it took a while. I remember you mentioned in Germany that it took a few years. Xiaomi approached you guys. One other question we seem to have a lot from the tech community is this going to be an exclusive partnership? Do we expect Xiaomi and Leica to go on with this in the years to come?
Yeah. I mean, it's supposed to be a long-term partnership. So this is nothing what you can do just as a one-hit wonder. You have to get to know each other, how to collaborate. I mean, we have dedicated R&D team which is working on these devices together with Xiaomi. And yeah, that's why it's supposed to be a long-term exercise.
As always, it's been an action-packed episode of Tech Today, or shall I say, an electric one with the Hyundai Ioniq 5. What did you think of this particular EV? Is it a practical option for city driving? Do you think it's much better than its sibling, the EV6? Let us know on our social media handles. Give us a shout out, and we'd love to know what the Tech Today community thinks of this EV and the rest of the show. If you've liked it, let us know. If you've not liked it also, do let us know for sure. Until next week, this is your host Aayush Ailawadi saying adios.